Welcome back to Games Reveal. I'm James and also the Brink, and we are one community. Today, I want to talk about the ROG Ally X specs. They're officially here. Now, the spicy goods are ready for us to consume and see what we have to look forward to. With this buffet of goodness from videocards.com, who confirmed this, has now given us pretty much everything we've wanted and expected for a device like this. So let's just go over those specs real quick. First up, it is going to have the same APU, the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, which is a good APU. It has some room for improvements for like power to performance ratios, but it's still really good. And then it's got that 7-inch 120 hertz screen still with a battery that has now been upgraded to 80 watt hours, which is double from the previous device. And then it's got an M.2 2280 port for its SSD and NVMe drive. Throw something in there, man. You're going to be able to upgrade this thing and max it out to whatever, it's just going to have the best support out of almost any handheld that is ASUS, Legion, or Steam Deck right now. But Ioneos have the 2280 also. It just means that you can slap more memory into that thing. Then as far as RAM, it has 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5X 7500 RAM. We'll get into some of this a little bit later. And then it's going to weigh in at 678 grams, and its size is going to be 28 by 11.4 by 3.7 centimeters. And then it's going to have a black chassis with an ergonomic design, which it just sounds like it's going to have more bumps, like a more girth to it, I guess, without a better term. And then it's going to have two USB ports, USB 3.2 and Type C, and Gen 2 that is, plus a USB 4 Type C. Now that we've gone over the specs that are been confirmed, let's get into what I'm really excited about. It's that 24 gigabytes of low power double data rate 5X RAM, which is set at the speed of 7500. I think 24 gigabytes should be the new standard for 2024, and then we should move to 32 gigabytes of RAM for the next 5 years starting in 2025. That's just my opinion. But wait, let's not skip past the LPDDR5X. It is designed for flagship smartphones, thin and light laptops, and other mobile devices. It could offer around 25% higher performance, 30% more capacity, and 25% higher power efficiency. But let's be realistic and say that it should, on average, bump up our performance by 10% in certain games. Not every game's gonna, enjoy this performance gain. I think that's one of the things that, especially with memory's always overblown how much it affects performance over something like an APU, like GPU, CPU bump. But at the end of the day, we'll see. It could really, in some games, really help. Okay, what I'm really excited for is more playtime. That battery is looking sexy. A little chunk to it, but it should offer a much longer playtime. The Ally lasts for about 1 hour in turbo. Well, 1 hour is much better than some of us. And then 1.5 hours in performance, 3 hours in silent mode. And so the new Ally X should double those figures. So just think of 40 to 280. It depends. There's other things to help with performance with that too. But in comparison, the Steam Deck OLED has a 50 watt battery and gets about 2 to 7 hours depending on the games you play. Much more power efficient than the Ally, and that's partially to do with Windows. And also the Ally's APU is much faster. It can consume a lot more power to it. The Ally X should last longer per watt now, though, and you get better performance on longer battery life. Meaning, if you're going watt to watt, so if you have this thing at 15 watts, that is the Steam Deck's max, and then you have 15 watts set for the ROG Ally X, you're going to be looking at probably a good 30 to 40% more battery life. And that's just guesstimations right now. But at what cost? So yes, it has a bigger battery that, there's a lot of good that we're getting. 24 gigabytes of RAM, bigger battery life, double battery life. But what does it cost us? The Ally X is going to bulk up a little and be heavier, which the original one could use to add some weight to it. For me, at least. Others with less arm girth to them might not be able to handle the new gains well. That is until you look at how much more it will weigh. And it's crazy that they were able to bump up the X by just 70 grams. So the original was 608 grams and the X will be 678 grams. Or for those not wanting to learn the correct measurement system, that would be a little over 1.4 pounds. Now, that is good. Like, honestly, that's a pretty decent. They must have like scraped out some of that plastic or something. They lost some weight somewhere. Now for the surprises. The ROG XG mobile port for the external GPU has been replaced with a standard USB 4 Type-C, which will support DisplayPort 1.4 and Power Delivery 3.0. This means you will be able to hook up any external GPU that supports USB 4 now. GBD and AYANEO's eGPUs are now compatible as long as they support USB 4. Now, it would have been better to have an Oculink for faster speeds and lower latency. Honestly, that needs to be the new standard, which those two things are very important for GPUs. You will have better performance with an eGPU than just not having one. So don't look past. So we also shouldn't look past that it has 2 ports, USB ports that is, and we'll be getting, which will be perfect. It's 2, I mean, honestly 3 is probably perfect, but 2 is just gonna be that much better. The other surprise was that ASUS upgraded the fans to be 23% smaller, 50% thinner fins, and 10% increase in airflow, which should translate into a little cooler for your fingers at higher watts, or for the brave, you can cook that processor even more and maybe burn your little fingies. So watch out. But for others, you might not. Some people said they burn themselves. I've never burned myself on one of these devices like a Steam Deck or whatnot, but there you go. What I am going to do, so what I'm essentially going to be doing with all this information, I'm really tempted to get one, but I think this device will be king of performance, playtime, and looks. Plus, it looks like ASUS is working on their support, which has failed a few people in the community. While there are plenty that have had good experiences, ASUS should always make sure their repair services are top-notch to take the lead over other brands. This is subjective, of course. This is one of those things where it's one person says one thing, another person says another thing. We don't fully know at the end of the day what the true, like, it's just, if anyone's having a bad time, we should be looking into it, right? And always improving. But it's not as much of a stopper for me now. I will be passing on getting this device for now. I will be saving up for one come this winter and wait for a sale. In the meantime, I will be messing around with an iPad this summer. That will probably be my device of choice at this point because it's just interesting. I'll be able to stream games on it and just play around with it. But I do recommend this device for those seeking peak performance gains. For those who want to be on the edge. I really like the AYANEO devices that are coming out, but because of their support and some other things, I'm just not sure about it. Then you got Legion Go, which is a good device and does a lot of small things right, but an overall play, I just wasn't enjoying it as much as the ASUS ROG Ally. The Ally's biggest con was its battery, to be honest, and long-term playability. It just was a little too, it didn't fit in your hands very well. Like the Steam Deck's perfect, the Legion Go is second with some palm issues, and then it was the Ally, but I liked the Armory software a lot more in the Ally than I did Legion Go software, which is a big deal. So that being said, this is the device. If you're not going to be getting a Steam Deck, which is my top pick for the average consumer, if you're wanting to be on that edge of being able to play almost anything on the go, then the ASUS Ally X is probably going to be my pick. Obviously, it needs to come out. We need to look at reviews and everything. Maybe I'll get one in my hands sooner than later so I can let you know what it's like. But for now, I really think you should be pretty excited for this. This is all good stuff. They fixed pretty much everything that was bad with the original Ally. They fixed. Now, yeah, would it be nicer to have a little bit more power with a newer APU? Yeah, but you know what? AMD probably has something in the works for the next Z1, so like a Z2. So, and it probably just wasn't ready yet, and this was not going. They just were not patient. Like me, I'm not a patient person, so I don't blame them for it. Now, I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know. Is this something that you're going to be upgrading into? Is it something you're going to wait because you want a better price? Or you're content with your Ally? Honestly, if you have an Ally already, you might just want to wait another year because like I've said before, and Lenovo probably will be doing yearly upgrades to all these things. And there is some news on the Lenovo side for another device that they have that I'll be reporting on. So make sure to subscribe, bash that bell with your crowbar, that whole spiel. And look at those links below. It helps support the channel, coffee, and the devices and other stuff that I recommend. So, yeah, until next time, peace out.